Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News for Tuesday, April 2nd. First of all, I just wanted to call out a tweet that President Trump put out today. He said, "Today, we celebrate the tremendous accomplishments of Americans with ASD and reaffirm our commitment to work together to ensure that every member of our society is afforded equal opportunities to reach their full potential. World Autism Day." That was today. Here is the president's proclamation. I'd like to think that this is a direct message to all of the autists and the Anons that have helped out so much, not only to bring President Trump into office, but to help shed light on all of the horrible things that the other side has done to try and derail his presidency. Not to mention keeping an eye on everything that our favorite Anon has done and said over the last 2 years. Now, stick around. We've got lots more news. Real quick, a word from my sponsor. Now, my viewers know how I feel about President Trump, and they also know how I feel about the Mueller investigation. Well, recently Trump arrived home from a golf weekend. He was smiling as he walked across the White House lawn. His smile wasn't about the golf, though. The smile was because it's taken 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 19 lawyers, and 40 FBI agents for Donald Trump to announce the attempt to tie him to Russian interference in the 2016 election has officially failed. It was a complete and total exoneration. If you're a fan of the president and want to show your support, you might want to celebrate the news with one of these: the solid silver or pure gold President Trump Freedom Coins. You can call 888-601-0081 today to order, or you can visit TrumpCoin2020.com. But don't forget to use the code REDPILL78 to save $5 off per silver coin, or use the code REDPILL78GOLD to save $100 off the gold coin. All right, now the first bit of news on the docket from the Gateway Pundit. Boom! President Trump says the origins of the Mueller report are criminal and treasonous. We have video. President Trump met with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Tuesday in the White House. The president opened up the Oval Office for questions following the meeting, and he had some good things to say. At one point, the president was asked about the Mueller report and the insistence by Democrats to see the entire report. President Trump spoke for 6 minutes on the Democrat Party's denial, and then he pointed to the origins of the Mueller report. The mainstream media, liberal media, has no interests in reporting on the real scandal that former President Hussein and his administration spied on the opposition candidate during the 2016 election. At the end of his remarks, President Trump said the origins of the Mueller report are criminal and treasonous, which they are. Trump told the reporters that they would receive Pulitzer Prizes if they investigate the origins of the Mueller report. President Trump said people did things that were very, very bad for our country and very, very illegal. And you could even say treasonous. Thank you very much, everybody. What a mic drop. Let's take a listen.
There is going to be a vote in the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow whether or not to authorize subpoenas to demand an unredacted version of the Mueller report and all of the background materials. If they do vote out the authority for subpoenas, will the White House fight that?
Well, I think it's ridiculous. We went through 2 years of the Mueller investigation. We have, not only that, you read the wording, it was proven. Who could go through that and get wording where it was no collusion, no nothing? So there's no collusion. The Attorney General now and the Deputy Attorney General ruled no obstruction. They said no obstruction. And so there's no collusion, there's no obstruction, and now we're going to start this process all over again? I think it's a disgrace. These are just Democrats that want to try and demean this country. And it shouldn't be allowed. And I'll totally live by what the Attorney General, I have great respect for the Attorney General, I'll live by what he says, but I will tell you this. Nothing you give them, whether it's Shifty Shift or Jerry Nadler, who I've known, he's been fighting me for half of my life in Manhattan. And I was very successful, thank you. But Nadler's been fighting me for years and years in Manhattan. Not successfully. I will tell you Anything we give them will never be enough.
What about the fact
We could give them, it's a 400-page report, right? We could give them 800 pages, and it wouldn't be enough. They'll always come back and say, it's not enough, it's not enough. This thing has gone on for 2 years, and really it started long before that. It practically started from the time I came down the escalator, because this was a whole plot. Whether you want to use the insurance policy as a time frame, this was an insurance policy just in case Hillary Clinton, loses. Well, she lost, and she lost big. This has been going on for years. Now they want to keep it going on. We had, they spent over $30 million on an investigation. They found no collusion, which, by the way, was the most ridiculous premise I've ever heard of anyway, and you understand exactly what I mean. No collusion. There was no collusion. There never was. After $30 million, we're going to start this process again because Jerry Nadler wants to start it or because Schiff wants to start it. I'll rely on the Attorney General to make decisions, but I will tell you, anything that's given to them will never be good enough. You could give them the more documents that they've ever seen, and it would never be good enough. So I think it's somewhat of a waste of time. This is just politics at a very low level.
What about the fact that Congressman Nadler opposed the release of the Starr report in 1998?
Well, that's a good thing. It's very nice that you bring that up. The fact is that Jerry Nadler was on the opposite side of this, and he thought it was a disgusting, terrible thing to even think about giving the Starr report. But now we should give the Mueller report. And actually, the Mueller report is actually much tighter because the Starr report went to Congress. The Mueller report goes to the Attorney General. So there's a big difference. They made that because the Starr report got out of control with respect to going to Congress, because I guess lots of people had it that maybe shouldn't have had it and did bad things with it. So now they limited it to the Attorney General, and they did that specifically for that reason. So Jerry Nadler thought the concept of giving the Starr report was absolutely something you could never do. But when it comes to the Mueller report, which is different on our side, that would be something that he should get. It's hypocrisy and it's a disgrace. I will say this, look. There was no collusion. There was no obstruction. They were very disappointed. I don't know what they were thinking, because they all know. I guarantee you they go into a room between Nadler, Schiff, and the group, and they laugh like hell at how they've kept this thing going for 2 years. They laugh like hell. And I hope that this investigation now, which is finished, it's totally finished, no collusion, no obstruction. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings of that investigation. You look at the origin of the investigation, where it started, how it started, who started it, whether it's McCabe or Comey or a lot of them. Where does it go? How high up in the White House did it go? You will all get Pulitzer Prizes, okay? You're going to all get Pulitzer Prizes. You should have looked at it a long time ago, and that's the only thing that's disappointing to me about the Mueller report. The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges, how it started, the beginnings of the investigation, how it started. It didn't cover that, and for some reason, none of that was discussed. Now, if you look at the IG report, it's very serious. Now we have another IG report coming out, hopefully very soon. And I think you're going to learn a lot. But you should look at the beginnings and where it started, the whole situation, because this has been a very, very bad thing for our country. The question was asked before about Russia, about Germany, about all of the different things that you and I discuss so often. This has been a very bad thing for the United States. It's been a total waste of time. But what hasn't been a waste of time is some very bad people started something that should have never been started. And I hope that's going to continue forward, because people did things that were very, very bad for our country and very, very illegal. And you could even say treasonous. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
He hit the nail on the head. Treason is exactly what this was. We have to have the full investigation. They must show how this started. What are the origins? As soon as that information comes out, it will blow the lid on the whole thing. Now, we know how this happened. We know where this started. But the rest of the country needs to get this into their brains. This was an illegal investigation from the start. It was illegal all the way through. And just because you got Shifty Schiff and Loser Nadler trying to bring it back around, it is an absolute waste of time. We have spent enough money. We have spent enough time. It is time for the country to move on. And you know how that happens? Discovery and then prosecutions. Now, one thing that I thought was very interesting, and so did Methods, is that Donald Trump mentioned that we have another IG report coming out, hopefully very soon, he said, and you're going to learn a lot. People did things that were very, very bad for our country and very, very illegal. You could even say treasonous. That is the crux of it right there. Again, this is treason. These people worked against the best interests of our country. They worked to unseat a duly elected president of the United States. They have caused so much harm, so much division, and so much bad press for the United States. This makes us look absolutely terrible in the eyes of the rest of the world. They've tried to create a banana republic here among the United States of America, and that makes us look weak. If our own people can do this here, then what do you think our enemies can do against us? We must have the investigation that exposes the other side, and the evidence will soon be presented in the form of this IG report. Now, later, the president let the tweets fly because that's what he does best. We know this is how he communicates with his base. This is how he gets his own message out because, of course, the press are not going to report on it, even if they would get a Pulitzer for it. But President Trump ripped into Nadler and Shifty Adam Schiff as Dems prepare to subpoena the Mueller report without redactions. I also thought it was great how he mentioned the hypocrisy of Nadler in comparison to the Whitewater report. House Democrats are gearing up to subpoena Mueller's report fully, without redactions, the underlying documents as well as docs from 5 former Trump aides in a potential series of legal showdowns. Never mind that they're going to infringe on the rights of American citizens. Tuesday is the deadline. House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler, Democrat, New York, set for the delivery of Mueller's full report without redactions, and since he will not be receiving the report, the Dems will hold a vote to authorize subpoena on Wednesday. Instead of serving their constituents, House Democrats will use valuable resources and time to keep peddling the Trump-Russia collusion canard. President Trump went on a tweet storm Tuesday morning and ripped into Shifty Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler. Trump said, in 1998, Representative Jerry Nadler strongly opposed the release of the Starr report on Bill Clinton. No information whatsoever would or could be legally released. But with no collusion, the Mueller report, which the Dems hate, he wants it all. Nothing will ever satisfy them. Then he said Robert Mueller was a godlike figure to the Democrats until he ruled no collusion in the long-awaited $30 million Mueller report. Now the Dems don't even acknowledge his name. They have become totally unhinged and would like to go through the whole process again. It won't happen. Then he said, there is no amount of testimony or document production that can satisfy Jerry Nadler or Shifty Adam Schiff. It is now time to focus exclusively on properly running our great country. Amen, President Trump. Now, Attorney General Bill Barr told Congress in a letter Friday that the special counsel is assisting him with redactions prior to releasing the report to the public, as it should be. Barr released that 4-page summary of Mueller's principal conclusions last weekend, revealing the special counsel found that Trump did not conspire with the Kremlin during the 2016 presidential election. No collusion and no obstruction of justice. Mueller's team interviewed 500 witnesses and issued 2,800 subpoenas in an investigation that spanned over 675 days with a total of 19 high-powered lawyers. Under special counsel rules, Mueller is to give Attorney General Bill Barr a confidential report. Barr is redacting people's names who were not indicted. The law protects people named in the report who have not been indicted, especially if it's grand jury material. It's a crime to release grand jury material without the approval of the courts, and it's even a crime to release it to Congress without the approval of the courts, Alan Dershowitz notably pointed out. But of course, it doesn't matter to the Democrats what's a crime and what's not a crime. It only matters to them what they want, not what's in the best interest of the American people, or even what is actually written in the Constitution. They don't care. All they want is their own agenda to be brought to the front and for that to be fulfilled. Unfortunately, we have things called laws, and we have this beautiful document called the Constitution, which frames the exact manner in which things are supposed to take place. And we, of course, have our Bill of Rights, stating which rights we have as citizens of the United States, these beautiful United States of America. Somebody needs to tell the Democrats they need to do a little bit of reading. Now, on the subject of the origins of the investigation and the dossier, it's time for Hillary Clinton to answer for her role in the deep state coup. Now that President Trump has been 100% exonerated of the ridiculous charge of colluding with the Russians to steal our election, it's time for the architects of this attempted coup and cover-up to answer for their roles in destabilizing the United States of America for 2+ years. While former President Hussein should see the inside of a prison cell for presiding over the worst political scandal in American history, it's Hillary and her camp of jackals who came up with the scheme to destroy an American president. Hillary was pushing the scam from the start. Here she is in August of 2016. Hillary Clinton and her team concocted this Russian collusion delusion from the very start. And you know why? Projection. Saul Alinsky and Karl Marx. Accuse your enemy of what you're doing. Saul Alinsky said it specifically to create confusion. And that's what Hillary Clinton has done. She has accused others time and again of that which she is guilty. And Saul Alinsky was someone that she looked up to greatly. This is the origin of the Russian collusion delusion. But as we know, it turns out that there was nothing going on. Nothing with Trump and Russia. Not only that, but Hillary pushed a fake narrative about Trump's servers being a backdoor for communicating with a Russian bank. Remember in 2016, October? 4 things you need to know about the Trump Organization's secret server to communicate with Russian Alpha Bank. 1. Donald Trump has a secret server. Yes, Donald Trump. It was set up to communicate privately with a Putin-tied Russian bank called Alpha Bank. When a reporter asked about it, they shut it down. 1 week later, they created a new server with a different name for the same purpose. All lies. All lies. Hillary Clinton had the private server. What was that for? Communicate with China. Only problem was, it was all BS, as subsequent reporting by the Gateway Pundit confirms. Here is the woman who started the rumor, and she was a huge Hillary Clinton supporter. She was working with Fusion GPS. So Hillary's minions helped manufacture the big lie, and then she spread it herself. When will this witch hunt finally be hunted by the DOJ? Hashtag lock her up. That's exactly what we need to see happen, because Hillary Clinton is the one who is guilty of colluding with the Russians. Hillary Clinton is the one who put our country in turmoil for the last 2 years. Far longer than that, even. Now, Devin Nunes, always on point, says that it's time we started talking about investigating the investigators. We know for sure that they used the counterintelligence services to target a political campaign. These people need to be held accountable. Let's go ahead and take a listen from my friend Methods.
Republicans are looking to shift the focus, though, investigating the investigators. And we have them up on the screen here. These are Obama-era officials. Do you see that look back as being politically risky at all?
Well, it should be no surprise to anyone who's out there who's followed the work that the House Republicans have been doing on the Intelligence Committee. We were the first to come out and say that something was really wrong here, something stunk. We now know for sure that they used the counterintelligence services to target a political campaign. They told us that it happened in late July of 2016. We believe it happened much earlier than that. So it's not a matter of politics here. This is a matter of whether or not people broke the law, whether or not they actually lied to the FISA court, whether or not they didn't give Congress all the information, obstructed justice, whether or not they leaked classified information. So, look, these people need to be held accountable. We will make our criminal referral, and we'll see what the Department of Justice does with it.
Let's do it, Devin. When are we going to see these criminal referrals? Because when the Democrats do it, it's not political. They're just chasing the truth. But here's the thing. It was always political. Now, it's criminal. We must bring these people to justice. It is high time that we see them prosecuted for their crimes. It is a horrible precedent to use the intelligence services of our nation to attack and demean a political opponent. You're not going to see that happening with Trump. You're not going to see that happening on the right here. You will only see that happening with the Democrats, but it's something that needs to stop, and we never need to see it ever again. Now, here's an interesting article that was sent to me today from thehornnews.com. I've never seen this website before, but they allege that Joe Biden has mafia connections. Joe Biden is the frontrunner for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, but he won't be there for long if these scandals keep breaking. A gang of women have said that Biden has a nasty habit of putting his hands and lips on them without their consent, and the former vice president even made a strange prostitute confession. But there's a darker secret hanging over Uncle Joe's head. His family has deep business ties to one of America's most infamous names in organized crime. This isn't just any small-time wise guy. At one time, this mob boss was number 2 on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, right behind OBL. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, even used the family to strike up a $1.5 billion deal with communist China. It all began in 2009 when Hunter Biden teamed up with the son of another former Democratic presidential candidate, Senator John Kerry. Biden and Chris Hines started Rosemont Capital and an affiliated company, Rosemont Seneca. The Biden and Kerry clans used their families' political connections to smooth out deals and peddle influence, according to Peter Schweitzer, who exposed the story in his book Secret Empires, How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Family and Friends. But when they went for the big score in Beijing, they had to call in outside help. To crack China, Rosemont joined forces with a company called the Thornton Group, but the actual owner was James Bulger. If that last name sounds familiar, it should. James Bulger is the nephew of James Whitey Bulger, the head of Boston's infamous Winter Hill Gang. Even though Whitey was implicated in 16 murders, he lived scot-free for decades thanks to corrupt government officials. Whitey had corrupt cops, even FBI agents, on his payroll, but he also had high connections in the State House. Whitey's brother, Billy Bulger, was president of the Massachusetts State Senate, and he admitted he ran the place with a dictatorial iron fist for years. Critics said that the two brothers scratched each other's backs and kneecapped each other's enemies. Billy used Whitey's reputation, real or imagined, as a club to threaten and punish, said Michael McCormick, a member of the Boston City Council for 10 years in the 1980s until 1991. Even though Billy's supporters insist Whitey never really hurt anyone, McCormick says the threat is enough. When boogeyman become real, they are real. At one time, then Boston Mayor Kevin White thought that Whitey had put a hit out on him. Billy helped his brother, too. When Whitey Bulger won the lottery jackpot worth $14.3 million in July 1991, tongues started wagging that the mob world miracle was really an inside job. The FBI said Whitey used the cash for money laundering. When Whitey was on the run for 16 years, Billy kept talking to him on the phone. He refused to help the feds find him. Eventually, then-Governor Mitt Romney pressured Bulger out of public life, getting him out of the University of Massachusetts, where Billy had taken over as president. Billy is on the board of Thornton along with his son. The Biden family thought this was a family that could open doors, and did they ever make a killing? Chinese officials first agreed to talk about a business deal with the children of Joe Biden and John Kerry and Whitey Bulger's nephew in May 2011. At the time, Whitey Bulger was still on the lam. He wouldn't be arrested for another month. Thornton's website bragged that Beijing's communist leaders extended their warm welcome to the Thornton Group, with its U.S. partner, Rosemont Seneca chairman Hunter Biden, second son of the now former Vice President Joe Biden. Hunter Biden visited China with his dad multiple times during the Obama years. In 2013, just days after Biden left the country on an official Obama administration visit, Chinese communists cut the trio a $1.5 billion deal, with a catch. China would be part owner in the deal. Biden, Kerry, and Bulger immediately agreed and invested in nuclear power conspiracy against the United States, according to Schweitzer. The Bidens did business with the family of a wanted gangster and the Chinese Communist government. Somehow the mainstream media never saw fit to print a word of this. There are more than 39 million articles tying Donald Trump to the mafia in major outlets like The Washington Post, The Wall Street Journal, Politico, and PolitiFact. Whole books have been written claiming President Trump has mob ties. But Biden's latest scandal, there's practically nothing. And that's criminal. Excellent article, and Peter Schweitzer, we all know Peter Schweitzer does top-notch work. This is something I am definitely going to be keeping an eye on in the future because it really, really needs to be brought to the light of day. And would you look at this? A Chinese woman was arrested at Mar-a-Lago while Trump was in town. Apparently, she passed through the Secret Service checkpoint with 4 phones, a thumb drive, and malware. A Chinese woman named Yujing Zhang was arrested at Mar-a-Lago for giving false statements to federal agents and entering a restricted building. U.S. Secret Service agents said they seized 4 cell phones, a laptop computer, an external hard drive, and 1 thumb drive from Yujing Zhang. An examination of the thumb drive showed it contained malicious malware, agents said. Yujing Zhang approached Secret Service agents on Saturday at a checkpoint in a parking lot across from Trump's Florida Mar-a-Lago resort and was able to talk her way through by telling them she wanted to use the pool at the club. She presented the federal agents with 2 passports from China as ID. At first, a manager at Mar-a-Lago thought Yujing Zhang was related to another member with the same last name and cleared her to enter the facility after a brief exchange where she didn't answer definitively, but shrugged it off as perhaps a language barrier issue. Zhang then changed her story. According to court documents, she went to the front desk receptionist and said she was there to attend the United Nations Chinese American Association event scheduled later that evening. Since no such event was on the calendar for that evening, federal agents were called in to deal with Zhang after she became argumentative and verbally aggressive. At that point, Agents realized that Yu Xingzhang was fluent in English and had traveled from Shanghai to attend a non-existent event at Mar-a-Lago after an acquaintance named Charles, whom she met on a Chinese social media app, invited her. The Palm Beach Post reported, her goal, she told agents, was to try to speak to a member of Trump's family about Chinese-American economic relations. She showed agents an invitation she received to the event. Agents said they were unable to read it because it was written in Chinese. While agents initially thought a language barrier might have led to the confusion about why Zhang visited the club, they later said she had a firm grasp of English. Agents said they have multiple officers at various checkpoints to assure unauthorized visitors can't get into Mar-a-Lago. Club members and visitors must pass through a gauntlet of metal detectors and BOMB sniffing dogs. Had Zhang not falsely portrayed herself as a club member seeking to visit the pool and instead advised she was there to attend the non-existent United Nations Friendship event, her access would have been declined by U.S. Secret Service at the preliminary inspection point, they wrote. As an aside, they said her first story about wanting to use the pool was an obvious ruse. No swimming apparel was found in Zhang's possession on her person, agents wrote. According to reports, Zhang was never near President Trump. However, he was in Palm Beach over the weekend and stayed at his Mar-a-Lago resort. Zhang appeared in U.S. District Court Monday and is due back in court next week for a hearing. She faces a maximum 5-year prison sentence. Wow, good job to the Secret Service. This is kind of scary to think that somebody could get that close to loading up some malware on computers there at Mar-a-Lago. I wonder exactly what that malware would have allowed her to do, or perhaps the Chinese government. Oh, and here's some good news. Democrat Ilhan Omar is under investigation for using her campaign funds to pay for divorce from her brother. Well, Muslim Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is under investigation for using her campaign funds when she was a state lawmaker to pay for her divorce. According to Sinclair investigative reporter James Rosen, authorities have recently completed their investigation and are preparing to issue a ruling. 2 complaints against Ilhan Omar were filed last year by Republican state lawmaker Steve Drazkowski. Sinclair's investigative stakeout reporters approached Ilhan Omar last week as she left the Capitol, and she refused to answer any questions about the alleged campaign finance violations. Omar's aide told Sinclair to try to schedule an interview with the lawmaker instead. As expected, Omar's team gave Sinclair the runaround and never responded to their email inquiries. Republican State Rep Drazkowski complained that Omar uses her gender, religious beliefs, and ethnicity, a Muslim woman from Somalia, as a shield against critics. There's a political fear that people have, Drazkowski said, of being called a name, being called a bigot, being called racist, or being called Islamophobic. Sources exclusively told Sinclair that the Campaign Finance Board has completed their investigation of both complaints against Omar, one related to using funds to pay for her divorce lawyer, and the other for issues related to travel expenses, and will issue a ruling within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Now, according to her limited bio on the far-left Wikipedia, Ilhan Omar divorced her second husband, Ahmed Nur Saad Elmi, in 2017. Ahmed Nur Saad Elmi is her brother. The two were married on February 12, 2019. That's right, Democrat Ilhan Omar married her biological brother. Disgusting. Now, Omar won a historic victory over 44-year incumbent DFL rep Phyllis Khan. Omar built a vast coalition of East African voters to defeat the incumbent in Minneapolis. Let's take a listen to this report from OWN.
When evidence came out in 2016 that she was married to a different man, she admitted that Hersey was actually only her cultural husband, a term she used to describe marriage that took place in her faith tradition only, not legally before the courts. Omar then admitted that she married another individual, Ahmed Nur Saad Elmi, on February 12, 2009, and later split with Elmi in 2011, but did not formalize her divorce with him until 2017, after being elected to the Minnesota legislature. Omar then claims that she reconciled with Hersey and had one more child with him, filing for legal marriage only in 2018. Omar rejects all claims that Elmi is her brother, but she's not released any documentation or evidence to clarify the matter. Well, Well, the story first appeared in 2016 during her run when sources within the Somali community in Minnesota began reaching out to local media stating that she had married her brother in an immigration fraud scheme. In school records first obtained by PJ Media, the story took a disturbing turn. In enrollment records archived by the St. Paul Public School District, and Ahmed N. Elmi attended high school from 2002 to 2003 while living at the same address as Ilhan Omar's father, Noor Saeed Elmi Mohammed. Sources who attended high school referred to Elmi as living with his father, Elmi Mohammed, the same man that Representative Omar has referred to as her father. Omar made a trip to London in 2014. Photos uploaded to Instagram that have since been deleted showed Elmi and Omar together. Screenshots from social media indicate that Elmi lived in Minneapolis until about August 2012 when he moved back to London. Reports also show that Elmi and Omar attended college at North Dakota State University together. Other Instagram posts show Omar and Elmi communicating up until around October 2013. In one post about her children, Omar tells Elmi, "They are so cute. Best uncle you are."
So I guess the only good thing about this story is that they didn't have children together. Whoa. The liberal media forgot to mention Ilhan was married to her brother. A reader has written us to point out that the Somali website Somali Spot posted information last week suggesting Omar's involvement in marriage and immigration fraud. The post notes that Omar married Ahmed Hersi in 2002. Hersi is the father of Omar's 3 children. Omar is depicted with Hersi and their children on Omar's campaign website. The post further notes that Omar married her brother, Ahmed Noor Saeed Elmi, in 2009, implying that the latter marriage assisted his entry into the United States. Her brother was a British citizen. As soon as Ilhan Omar married him, the post continues, he started university at her alma mater, North Dakota State University, where he graduated in 2012. Shortly thereafter, he moved to Minneapolis, where he was living in a public housing complex and was later evicted. He then returned to the United Kingdom, where he now lives. Ilhan Omar was elected to be a state representative for District 60B November 8, 2016, and took her oath on the Quran. In 2017, several months after Omar's marriage history briefly created a national news item, Omar quietly petitioned family court for a default divorce, claiming she could not locate Elmi. And now she is suspected of using campaign donations to pay for the divorce from her brother. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I have definitely heard about this before, but that's the first time I've seen it put together like this. Amazing stuff. To think that she could be involved in this and then be elected. This is definitely a story that deserves national media attention, and it is criminal that it is not receiving it. Now, lastly, the attorney for the Nigerian brothers that were involved in the Smollett hoax say they stand by their testimony that Jussie Smollett staged a hate hoax. Gloria Schmidt, attorney for the Osundairo brothers, laughed out loud at the continued lies by Jussie Smollett and his attorneys tonight on the Tucker Carlson show. Schmidt said the brothers stand by their testimony, that this was a staged hate hoax by Smollett. The brothers regret their role in the hoax. Their attorney also said the Osundairo brothers are not homophobic, not racist, and they are not anti-Trump. Tucker Carlson said, Gloria, thanks so much for coming on. So you heard the suggestion that your clients, without the knowledge of Jussie Smollett, attacked him while wearing white face makeup. Did they? She laughs. It's preposterous on top of ridiculous for her to come out and say that. Schmidt says the brothers are done with their testimony and are ashamed of their role in the hoax. All right, well, this is a 6-7 minute clip here, so we're not actually going to watch it. But I suggest everybody follow the link. Go to the Gateway Pundits website and check this out if you haven't seen it yet. Tucker Carlson is always on point. He's got great news, and I really respect him. This really is a whitewash of justice. The fact that his lawyer would suggest that they were wearing whiteface is just ridiculous. I also love the fact that it's now out that they are not anti-Trump. They are immigrants to our nation, and it looks like they came here legally. So, by all means, more power to them. But it's really too bad that they accepted this money. They were probably told by Jussie that it would never come out that they were part of this. They figured that he's a star. People who are famous get whatever they want in America, and they thought they were safe. But I'm sure that they really, really, really needed the money. Still, it's too bad. Too bad that they took part in it, because it has become a blotch on their reputations, and it has besmirched their very presence here in America. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, I am Red Pill 78. This has been Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.